All right, there we go. Hmm. Okay. Sound check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that seems to be working. Hmm. All right, hang on. There's always something, isn't there? There's always something. All right. Okay. Fine. Fine for now. All right. Let's get this. Oh, look at that. Sure. All right, I guess here, yeah. All right. Wow. Okay, so what am I doing? Well, this is I'm doing some Unreal game programming, and I'm continuing to work on the project that I was working on last time. And today I will be, let me pull up my to-do list. So last time I got the special room or the mandatory room spawn system working. Um, goal here. There we go. So today the plan is I think I'm gonna start. I still have to do a boss room and then a treasure room. Yeah, I'm gonna start with that boss room and treasure room. Let's see how does this room look. Dungeon exit. Great. All right, and just to refresh myself, randomization seed. Everything is 0, so everything will be fully randomized. Mandatory rooms. We have a realm exit, Dungeon exit 1 and 2, and then an entrance. All right. So this is where I'll be adding the boss room. Let's see what happens. Oh, all right, there we go. Oh, cool. There's the entrance, main entrance, and then the torches. There's one of the standard exits. Cool. And then that's one of the other standard exits. So the exits 1 and 2. And then be a realm exit. Just the realm exit. Oh, this is the other. This is okay. I got it. This over here is the realm exit. Yep. And then that is standard exit 1. This is standard exit 2. Right, because they both have a brazier in the center on the side of the room. That's kind of, it's a consistent but hopefully very subtle clue. It's not super obvious. I don't want it to be obvious, that part to be obvious to the player, but it helps for development if, as a designer, you know, like there's something that can indicate, yeah, this is the thing you want. And then this is the realm exit, right? And it's a little bit bigger. And this also is a fixed element. Hey, I'm receiving some money in here. Good job. Guess I cannot pick it. Oh, there we go. All right, whatever. Okay, so what we need now is boss room. All right, so everything's good there. As a matter of fact, let's go and make a backup real quick. All right, today's the 29th. All right, press to zip. I got one comment on last week's development stream, and it was from a Unity developer. And he was like, I'm a Unity developer, but I clicked on your stream because of the thumbnail. And the thumbnail has my cat, has Pan Pan on it. So that tells me I should get Pan Pan involved more. All right, September 29. Year of 25, working, mandatory rooms. Works. Cool. All right. So, boss room. Let's open this guy up. All right. Now, I don't know much about the game actually beyond part I'm working on. makes it a little bit tricky. Let's see here for a sec. Close that. And hang on, I gotta set some hotkeys real quick. Hmm. All right. Um. Yeah, maybe I'm not gonna. So the issue I ran into is that I've got like OBS uses hotkeys and then Unreal uses hotkeys. Unreal, I'm sure, uses a lot of hotkeys. OBS can, but I don't think many are configured by default. And the hotkeys I set up for OBS the other day looks like they overlap with Unreal. And so what happens is when I try to use them, Unreal grabs them, and then nothing happens in OBS. So that's a that kind of sucks. All right, I know I don't really know actually much about the requirement here. I guess though, since I'm still whiteboxing, it doesn't really matter. The idea is to build the prototype and then replace the blocks and spheres that I've used with proper art elements. So I guess it doesn't really matter. Um, or rather, I should say it's not really set in stone. If I do something and it's way too big, like the room's way too big, or it's way too small, I mean that can be easily adjusted. Okay. So with that in mind, I think right now the current working boss is only it's about the size of the player. It's a little bit bigger. Mm. What's up? Oh, hello to the people. The person who's in and out, or maybe it was several people. Okay, so what would be an interesting room? Well, let's see. I don't know if the boss in question has ranged weapons. If it does, then I want to provide something for the player to kind of hide around, so some obstacles to take cover. If it's a melee boss, then I want a lot of room for the player to move around and engage the boss, like jump in, attack, and get back. If the boss has special like area attacks, then I want places for the player to be able to retreat to or things to hide behind. So that last one sounds like those requirements would be met by the first two things identified. So I'm thinking it needs to be a largish space with some empty area and then also some obstacles, maybe towards the side or the edges for the player to hide behind if necessary. Okay. And hmm, all right, well, let's start with that. So we can do, I'm going to take this guy, the floor. And I realized after reviewing the previous stream that when I click something and it opens a menu, you don't see that. That's not captured. So Yeah, I think the only way to capture that is to do like a screen cap. I don't really want to do that because then you're gonna have like all my icons at the bottom of the screen, and that's that's not it's garbage, you know. All right. So let's pick a new shape. This is engine basic shapes. Engine basic shapes. It's not what I want. This is what I want. Good grief. All right. Also engine basic shapes. Basic shape. Let's do a I'll do a cylinder. So something that just occurred to me is, should entering a boss fight be a one-way action? You know, like can you abandon a boss fight? Can you withdraw? I'm not sure. Let's make this 40 by 40. I don't think that's enough. Let's do 80 by 80. All right, sure. And I don't think I have anything like a curved wall, but I can make some easily enough. I think if I what? Okay. This is what I mean by sometimes it's just kind of hard to get started. All right. I think Control D duplicates. Good. Curved wall. Curved wall. All right. Now I want to, whoops. Basic shapes right here. There we go. Curved wall. I want to move that up to mandatory rooms. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to keep all the pieces that are related to each other together. That will facilitate this dungeon is just a single thing that I'm going to add to another project. So I'm going to need to export it at some point. So keeping everything kind of under the same folder structure. Like here, I've got PCG dungeon content. So from here down, when I move it, it means that everything related to it will still be under that folder. So it won't. I find it. I don't know what the right word is. I don't know if it's confusing or a little. I think it's hard to keep track of if you import something that has, say, it's got things in the basic shapes folder and it's got stuff in the characters folder, basically spread all over, and then you import it into another project now all these other folders in the other project have like a single new asset in them. And it can be hard to kind of look at those folders, especially if there's a lot of things in them, and recognize, oh, this is the one new thing. And then also know, oh, this one new thing belongs to this project over, like this asset over here, the dungeon generator or whatever. So if you keep it all under the same folder, then you know, well, this is under the CG dungeon content folder. It's part of the dungeon. And I think that makes it a little more intuitive when you're trying to move things around or stay organized. And I know there are, let's do bathroom. There are reasons for organizing a different way. But I think for the most part, most of the reasons I've seen for different methods of organization, other than what I've described here, tend to be more applicable for really, really, really big projects. And all my personal projects and all my small group projects or small team projects I've been involved in, those schemes cause more problems than they solve. And I find that just keep everything under the same folder for what it's related to, for personal and small projects, really has far fewer drawbacks or things you have to work around or whatever. It's more intuitive to keep track of and or understand. That's been my experience anyway. All right, this is the boss room we're working with. Let's save that. We're gonna move this in. Oh, yeah. There you go. Curved wall. Currently a sphere. No, this is material. Oh, see, there you go. That's not even what I wanted. Delete. Nothing's using it. Basic shapes. Material. Ah. All right, we're going to duplicate that. Curved wall, boss room. And now, inventory rooms, boss room. Here we go. Move that. Thank you. Oh, hello and goodbye to the other people. You guys must have jumped in while I was rambling. That's a shame. All right, cool. So this is the blueprint. Yeah. All right, cool, cool, cool. So what I'm going to do, how do I want to do this? Let's, we're going to do curved wall, boss room. Curved wall. I'm going to reset, reset, and reset. Oh, I forgot this isn't centered. Oh, yeah. That's fine. Let's do, this is 80. Okay, so the curved wall, oops. We're going to do 80 by 80. And this one is 2. All right, let's do 10. That'll be 5 times as tall. Seems a bit shallow. Let's do 20. Sure. Drop that into the floor. Remove the patient offset, and then boom. There we go. Bring him up. There it is. All right, there's the curved wall. Now, I'm going to duplicate this. And curved wall, cut out. Now I'm not entirely sure. Oh, and goodbye. I'm not entirely sure this is really the best way to do this. Um, it works, but it's doesn't work really well. What I'm going to do is shrink this down a little bit. And I'm going to use a Boolean operation to remove the center of the curved wall. And that'll give me a nice cylinder. And like I said, it works, but the problem happens when if I need to scale this, the wall thickness is going to end up scaling as well, which becomes a problem if you want to put a doorway. Well, there's already a problem. If you want to put a doorway, I've got to do it now. I've got to cut that out as well. And then if you scale it, the thickness of the doorway, the thickness of the wall changes. And that can be a challenge to work around if your other things have, like the doorways have a kind of a maximum thickness. They can be, well, they don't work. So this gets me a solution. I don't know that it's really a very good solution, but it works. And since this is programmer art, I am going to run with it. Okay, so here, and then we select them both. How do you do Booleans again? Oh, wait. Oh, I think you do it over here. Yep, yep. I did it wrong. Okay. Okay. Go ahead and just save that. Over here, right. Okay, so the boss room, curved wall. All right, we'll just drop that in there. I believe it's modeling. Yes. All right. Proportions don't look the same. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, see, so I'm gonna run into that problem almost immediately because I'm editing over here. The scale doesn't seem the same. 1 1 1 1. And oh shit, wait a minute. 80 80 20. Yeah, it's it's because it's not 20. There we go. All right, cool. All right, so now what I want to do is duplicate. Yes. All right, so this will be the cutout. All right. So model. Cut the selected mesh with an extruded polygon. No. Oh, here we go. All right, let's bring this down. Then up. Sure. All right, 1, 2, there we go. Boolean. Bam. Um, Sure. Yeah, great. All right, cool. And then, place actor. You. All right. Oh, hello and goodbye. Generated. Okay. All right. All right. I need to put cube in here again. Cube. Go to here. Engine basic shapes. Cube one. Cube. All right. Pull this one in. Reset. Sky. Reset. Oh, interesting. Okay. Pull this up. I think 2000. Oh, maybe it's 4000. Cube. Ah, oh my goodness. All right. It's not 4000. Is that my cube? Oh, all right. Maybe it's 1000. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So the cube, we'll go ahead and stretch you out here. So this is going to cut hole for me. So what I'll do is I will err on the side of height because I can sink the whole thing down into the floor a little bit to get it to the right, to get the hole to the right height. All right, 2.5. That seems good. And then for width, uh, two. I don't know. When I made the doors, which were among some of the first things I made, uh, I didn't realize how important a decision it would be regarding how wide the doors are, and I put zero thought into it. I just made them. I had a room with entryway, and I just made the doors to fit, and I didn't note distances or measurements or anything. All right, so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make it a little wider and a little taller than I think, and then I can put shim geometry in between the door and the wall if it doesn't fit. It's sloppy and messy, but um, hopefully when the time comes uh, to replace it with actual art, it can be cleaned up. Oh, nice. All right, and so I'm thinking about the geometry of the room. I kind of don't like the idea of like walking into effectively like an arena. Um, is there a way to undo? Oh, what is this? Okay, there's looks like there's no way to modify the Boolean operation, I guess. I don't know. All right, let's do this. I'm gonna delete that. I'm gonna undelete that. Show me over here. All right. Now, I'm gonna delete that. Then I'm gonna delete this. All right, let's try it again. Modeling. I'm trying to think of the shape that I want to create and pieces I need to do it. So what I'm thinking is instead of like a almost like a Colosseum gladiator arena, if the bottom of the walls were sloped inward and then the top of the walls were also sloped inward, so it would make like the inside shape would be like this. So it would look more like a cave. Like the bottom of the walls had kind of the rock had fallen in or something like that. So to do that, let's start with oh, whoops. Uh, I just I just want the thing. Oh, I see. It was waiting for me to place it. Okay, cool. Boop. All right, so let's get this guy in big end. We'll put him around 80, 80, and 20, just like before. And then, cool. And then I'm going to drop in a sphere. Yep. Here, accept, reset. All right, now for this guy, let's see. Let's do 85. 85 and 85. So for now, we can lock these. Okay, that is a little bit bigger. Oh, it should be. Yeah. Okay, so let's do 78. Cool. All right, so we'll drop down to 75. Perfect. And then let's see. Break that. Squash it a bit. And let's see. Left. All right. Pull it down So this is about what I want on the sides of the area. I want it kind of sloping up and then curving overhead like so. This actually works out pretty well. It even encloses it, so that's cool. All right, so at this point, we're going to click. I'm going to do a Boolean operation. I'll take you, and then you. And that was what? Modeling? Yeah. Accept. All right, very cool. Thing. It's a little hard to tell. Yeah. Okay, and then what I think I'd like to do, let's get another one. Another sphere. Create. Sphere. Sure. All right, reset you. Stretch you out to here. And I want to cut away some of this bottom stuff. So this entryway isn't so much a tunnel. All right. Let's go to the side view. Bring you down. I want it just inside the outer edge. And then about like so. I think. Yeah. Let's spread this out a little bit. All right, you and you. Modeling. Boolean. Yeah, there we go. It's a bit better. And then you. Oh, except. Yeah, all right. And then you, and then you. Boolean. Boom. All right, cool. So this guy. All right, this is the boss room curved wall. Yeah. All right, now let's move that over to there. So I used to when I worked in Unity a lot. I used to my original organizational scheme was something like uh, geometry goes here in this folder, textures go in that folder, prefabs go in this folder, materials go in that folder, and that works for super small projects. And then what I found was as the things I was doing got a little bit more complicated, still not to the size of like large, like AAA size, but just as my projects grew, as you develop, I found that it was no longer, oh, this blueprint needs a new mesh, right? And that's all it needs. It just need a different mesh, but everything else was still stock textures and materials and all that. And this blueprint needs a new texture, right? But everything else is stock. So as I started having things that I was making where it was like, I'm making a custom mesh. I'm making a custom texture. I'm doing custom materials. I'm doing custom particles, like all these things. Um, I realized that it was easier to work with all the pieces if I actually kept them in the same folder relative to that asset. So if I had, say, like an ocean asset, like a surface object that was, say, I had a flat mesh that was procedurally animated to add some waves, and then I had a texture on it that might have some code that runs to give that some procedural animation, and then maybe there was a collider box that if you entered that, then it would like change the fog settings and whatever else to make it seem like you're underwater, and all these different things. Normally I would have spread out around the project, and I didn't come up with this on my own. It was something I'd either read or seen or whatever. Someone suggested it, but oh sweet. Someone was like, put all that stuff in the same folder for the asset, and so I tried it, and I was like, this makes a lot more sense. And so that's what I'm looking at here. That's why I'm doing it this way. Granted, I have this like, oh, it's generated stuff, but it's under what I would call a system folder, like a default folder. I'd rather just have it in my own stuff. All right. So that being said, where is my thingy? Oh, that's it, right? Because I cut out the inside. Fantastic. So I don't need this anymore. This is garbage. There we go. All right, compile, save, you. So now we can delete this. Boop. Yep. Nice. All right, cool. So we can get rid of this, I believe. Mandatory rooms, boss room, curved wall. Okay. Yeah, so we can get rid of this. Come back over here. All right. Oh, and hello again to the person who showed up. All right, so we'll grab you. We'll use this one. It's going to be the walls. Reset everything. And let's see, we will come up to here and then boom. So easy. Use that. Whoop. Sweet. And I think I've just scaled it twice. Actually, no, it looks about the same size. It's just not in the right location. Okay. That's fine. And then you. Yeah, perfect. Awesome. All right, you're going to come up. Not like that. And there we go. Yeah, so got our entrance. Camera controls. Not intuitive to me. We come in. Yeah. There we go. Boom. Still looks a little clinical, but that's all right. Okay. Before we go any further, let's get. There's only going to be one exit. Let's find the entrance. All right, there you are. So you and you. Basically there. Probably 4,000. Yep, that looks right. That's the entrance arrow. Right here. Pull this down right there. Cool. All right, we can delete that. That, that, and that. All right. We'll reset all of this. And I'm going to use this in the center as maybe some sort of dynamic obstacle. If only there was a system in place where I could dynamically place obstacles. All right. And these are rubble? These are rubble. All right, we're going to need a lot of these. Here. Oh. Oh shit, I broke it. Fuck. I don't know if I hit a hotkey combination or what, but it's not responding. It's fucking bullshit. Fucking unreal, man. Shah. All right, let's see what we got. Well, I mean, Task Manager doesn't say it's stuck. Oh, I can't tab back to it though. All right, yeah, I guess it's broken. All right, there we go. Goodbye, and let's restart it. Awesome. Sure. Would you like to restore these from the autosaves? Let's see. Sure. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. All right. Boss room. Oh, sucks. All right. We'll use you. Let's do exterior. All right. Come back to here. Boss room right there. Boop. How's that look? Looks perfect. All right. Reset that. Cool. So tag. Slide in. Oops. 0. And I think this is 1,000. Yep. Cool. All right, 1 and 2, get rid of those. Got an entrance. You're right there, so we'll grab you and you. Slide those. 4,000. Great. All right, and then inside. Trash, 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 trash. All right, you. I think for now, actually, I think for now, I'm just going to get rid of that. All right, the arrow. That's on the opposite side of the wall. So we can do that. Do this. And then I think it's going to be 4,000. Oh, not even remotely. How about 10,000? Eight. All right. That's what I would have guessed, except after I moved it 4,000, I didn't think it was in the center. Clearly, I was wrong. All right, cool. Got our entrance there. Let's get our overlap. Let's change this to a shit. What's it called? Collision. Okay. All right. All right. Make it static. I wish there was a way to copy settings. Don't need that. Yep. Rendering, visible, hidden in game. Yep. Navigation. All right. Simulate physics. Enable gravity. I think actually that does not need to be there. Nor any of this. Collisions. Generate overlap events. All right, physics, collision. No, yes. Rendering. All right, no custom query only. No custom query only. Everything except world static. Object type, world static. There we go. Don't think we need any tags. Cool. All right, you can go. Oh, look at the little thing. Okay. So now we need to position this. 4,000. Yep. And let's do 80. All right. 160. 200. There we go. So it needs to be just a little bit less. Actually. Let's do top. Yeah, perfect. How about 190? 180. All right, let's see. Is that, I think that's right exactly on the edge. All right, so let's do 175. Let's do 178. And hello again to whomever just joined. I will unlock this and bring this down. It's a shame there wasn't just a cylinder collider. Oh, right. This probably needs to come up about there. Okay, so probably 2,000. Cool. And then scale, that's too much. Let's do 150. So I think I've got to use from here to here for this, for the actual room. And then this extra area here, all that really means is that none of the other levels can be like above or below the main room. It's not terribly critical. I mean, you'll be inside the dungeon. You'll never really see it unless you've just got some supernatural level of spatial awareness. 5. All right, let's try 140. And then we'll drop it down 35. All right, that's fine. Yeah. And then this is the interior. So that's fine. All right, cool. Perspective. And for what it's worth, if you think this is boring, I agree. This is boring. I don't enjoy this at all. But it is what it is. I got to do it. Need it. You know. All right, I guess let's just spread a bunch of these out throughout the room. All right, before I do anything else, this is where it crashed last time, was when I went to copy these. So we'll do all right, there we go. Copy, paste. All right. Cool. So 1, 2, 3. We'll do this guy. We're gonna move him there. S1, we'll move there. Here. And what I'm gonna do is I think for this one, I'm just gonna kind of put them all over, and then rely on the random number generator to not populate all of them. And in doing so, it'll make it. I'm hoping it'll provide like the illusion of a generally rubbled area with some clear patches inside. Okay, number 12. So copy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so 13. Put you here. 14. 15. 16. And 17. All right, copy 1, 2, 3. All right, so 18. Uh-oh. It should all be at 0 for blue. Let's fix that. 0. All right, so 17. Where are you? Where the fuck is this? Okay. 1. 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. 6, 7, 8. I gotta find the ones that aren't in the room now. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, 15 is not in the room. All right, we'll just reset your position and drag you into here. Cool. Slide you over there. That was 15. All right. 16. Awesome. 17. Do the same with you. Put you over here. 18. 19. Yeah, these guys are way far away. Let's see. We'll put you here. 20. And part of what I want to do is have these overlap their fields a bit so that when they're generated, it doesn't look like a bunch of little piles of rubble. I want it to look like just a like a field, like I said, with like empty spaces in, scattered around. All right, so let's get some more. Let's do 20. All right, so copy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 21. Put him there. 22. All right, cool. 23. Yep, put you there. 24. And then 25 here. All right. I guess we'll see how this looks. Cool. And then I want to add some dynamic columns. So let's go find the statue room. Wait a minute. There was a room. The giant cave room. Special rooms. Cavern with stairs. This one. This one, I believe, only has. Oh, that is a lot. Okay. Decor location. Oh, this. I was thinking this was constrained so that it would only be columns, but I don't think it is. All right. You know what? That's fine. Come over here. This guy. We're gonna paste that. Set the position and slide you out here. All right. So what I'm thinking is we'll put like copy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Why are things up here changing when I do that? Copy. That's weird. Oh, it would help if I put these in the right spot. Jesus. All right, here we go. And then up here, paste. There we go. All right, decor 1. All right, so I'm just gonna put these maybe. I mean, around the edge is so like cliche. So I think, oh, whatever, just grab them. So I think I'm gonna kind of cluster them. After all, um, we don't need to know the actual meaning of why these are here. What matters is that they seem like they have a meaning. All right, decor location, copy 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so put some here, there. And these will not always have something on them. Sometimes they'll be empty. So I think it'll work. I think it'll look interesting. I think. And the idea is hopefully to suggest that there's something here, and that maybe to suggest, I guess, to suggest kind of like a half of or part of a pattern. Like if you imagine like ruins, like when these anthropologists go and explore different ruins around the earth, they'll go find like these towns or these locations that are half or mostly destroyed, and they're like, oh, there's like 5 columns over here and nothing over there, but there's a ton of rubble. So we think there were 5 columns over there. So that's kind of what the effect I sort of want to go for, which is to have enough stuff here that it looks like there was something going on, and that maybe part of the reason there's rubble everywhere is because the stuff's been destroyed, you know? So maybe if we do this, all right, I think that'll work. So you have rubble kind of near the columns, like they're breaking, right? And then a bunch of rubble over here opposite the columns to suggest that maybe there were some over here that are now broken. Okay. All right, so we save that in there. Okay, I have the entrance position. I've got the exit marked. I think this actually will work. I'm not going to put... Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll put more in, like some braziers or something for light. We shall see. I feel like I probably should. Um, Here we go. That's what I'm looking for. Boop. All right, room control, no. Blueprints, yes. Down here, realm exit. We're gonna add one here. Min spawn. All right, that's not used, so we'll just do that. Max is 1. Technically, all of these are max is 1. All right, and yeah, use that guy. All right, let's save this. Save everything. All right, let's see. Hello, Lulu. All right, boop, and it worked. No, it didn't. That is not the room that I just made. Okay, this is a neat dungeon though. I do like it. Got a couple special rooms in here, some stairwells. So there's 2 different levels. It's actually a really good generation. I like this one. Got the main entrance, the realm exit, regular exit, and the other regular exit. Yeah. Okay, so I think all right, let's go look at the code. That's what we're all here for. Code. Skip the room tagged as the main entrance. Right. So this is where we didn't identify it. That's all right. Periodic attempt to place a special room. Special rooms are not guaranteed. That just muddles the idea. All right, they're not guaranteed. There's the placement attempt. This is placing a normal room up top. Special room right there. This is the mandatory rooms. Mandatory rooms. That is what we added it to. Mandatory room right there. Got that. Yep. Show me in here. Oh. Oh, I picked the wrong one. Well, there's your problem. Mandatory rooms. Boss room. That guy. Boop. Here we go. I felt like whatever it was something very simple. Save all and run. There we go. Whoops. Oh, shit. All right, weird. All right, so we've got the main entrance. Got a nice long, a nice long hallway. Get to our first intersection where we've got one of the regular exits. And then I believe that is the other regular exit. Couple dead ends. Couple little, oh, I like that. Little offset junk intersection here. It's got some little closets off of it. A roundabout, the realm exit. Couple more dead ends. That's the entrance back there. And then finally you make it to literally, yeah, the last room. All right. Well, that's great. Cool. And then inside, oops. Oh, why can I not zoom in on that thing? All right, cool. There's the entrance. Hey, that's not bad. The size is a little wrong. You can see here the actual entrance to the room is too small. Which sucks. All right, and then I don't know how to first person manipulate this. Oh, all right. Well, let's see. There we go. So then in here, that's cool. So you've got rubble kind of everywhere, some sort of random columns. Yeah. And they're placed over near the entrance so that depending on how aggressive the boss is, the player has an option of like if they need to take cover or something. Head to the side here. All right. This is pretty cool. Um so this issue with the entrance here is a problem. So to solve this, I think I can make it taller by scaling the outer wall in the Y direction. Of course, that'll make the room taller, but that doesn't really matter. Um, if I make it wider, that will make the room oblong, which honestly I don't really care. But the room's already pretty big. I actually expected I would have to scale the room down a little bit. Right. All right. So the other option is to modify the geometry. Okay. So to do that, put it in the world. And I feel like it's a little bit too tall. So let's cut it down by say 5. Oops. Okay. Which means all right. I can cut it down. I can shorten it in the actual over here. So over here probably should not be doing that. Hmm. In Unity, there's a thing where say I wanted this to be half the size, I would set it to half the size, right? And then I could do what's called freezing. And when you freeze, you basically tell the game and or you tell the application, treat its current state as, say, 111, right? So then when you hit this, it doesn't change. So what happens is you change it how you want it. Come over here to say freeze scale. This is okay. What the way it is currently, that is the 111 scale. And I have the impression, I'm definitely not an expert, but I have the impression that this function does not exist in Unreal, which is a little surprising. And I can't think of a way around it. All right. I need modeling. I need a box. Accept. I'm going to reset. Why is it way over there? Why is this way over here? All right. All right, my box right here. We'll move this up 2,000, I think. It's not up. That's up. Yeah. Box. So we're going to scale you out here. And then 3. Oh, all right, here. That looks like about where it is already. And it needs to be wider. Let's double it. And I think if it's too much, I can shrink. Oh, is this shadow where it is? Oh, that's handy. Okay. It's better to cut too big a hole because I can put a shim in than too small a hole. Yeah. All right. So let me copy that, the name. All right, so you and then you, and we're going to come down to model Boolean. That seems acceptable. All right, you show me. There, we'll do version 2. All right. All right, and with that, we'll delete it. We'll move this over to here. Anyway, we'll come back over here, and we're going to update the reference. 1, version 2. All right, so we'll click you, come to here. I'm going to go find the exterior wall and use the selected. All right, cool. And then we're going to cut it in half. Bring it down. 1,000? Feel like, no. All right. That feels a bit short. But let's try it. Save that and run. All right, cool. Oh, we got a statue room. That's cool. Underground lake, tiny little lake. It's very funny. All right, here's our door. How does that look? Ah, yeah, it is too short. Okay. I definitely feel like there's a much better way to do this. 0.75. All right, and then the capsule. Um, bring you down. And how about 100? 20? Cool. There we go. All right. And okay, there's the realm exit. Here is the boss room entrance. There's our door. That actually looks great. This cutout part isn't super fantastic, but it does fit really well. So I think that's enough to work with. To give the right idea. Awesome. And then inside, oh, we got, oh, that's a shitload of braziers and not much cover. All right. One thing I didn't plan on was that I might want to constrain these decor objects to like certain options for specific rooms. Because I felt that if I did that, what I would end up doing is every room I'll be like, it can only be like, say I have five. Um, well, let's see. I have a statue, I have a brazier, and I have a column. I think that's it, right? So there's three. So with those three, every room would probably be like, it can only be a column. That's the only thing in the list. Or, if there's more, basically it's a sub list. But my concern was when I've tried to do things like that in the past, I've ended up kind of using the same things for everything. And then it's like, well, why did you have the overarching system in the first place? It just you're not using it. This is sort of working. I think I'm fine with this. Oh, uh, there is. Oh shit, there are a ton of torch mounts in here. All right, let's get rid of all these. Delete. All right, cool. Wall decor empty. Yep. So so what I'm thinking is, so right now I have a system that like all these green things, they're gonna choose from a master list of objects, something random, and it's not chosen random per location, it's per room. And I did do that on purpose. Other stuff is random per location, like the rubble. But I wanted these to be like if it's columns, they're all the ones that are in the room will be column because it looked weird when it was like some are statues, some are costumes, some are braziers. So what I'm thinking is, I think I'll add a way to specify certain items for that room only. But then instead of going to most of the rooms and specifying like, oh, I don't want this or I don't want that. Like this room, I don't want all these to be braziers. That's silly. What I'll do is I'll pull the braziers and the statues out of the master list of 4 objects, and I will just use them on the custom lists for certain rooms, like the statue hallway or whatever I called it, right? Um, and that way the floor decor list will still remain, like, because it's used so many places. I can continue to use it. Yeah, I'm basically doing the same thing, except um, instead of all the rooms saying, "Oh, I only want columns here," and then excluding, like, the master list having things that I want to exclude. What I'll be doing is the master list has things that can genuinely appear everywhere, and then some rooms will have additional things or just an overriding list to use instead. I think that will require less per room customization, which is what I want. Okay. All right, cool, cool. All right. So I don't plan to, not sure if I want to try and take a look at that right now, or if I want to mark that down as like work, like future work for another sprint. I have, since the beginning of the development of this dungeon, I have modified how the rooms work and added, basically made the rooms a, I sometimes I call it an interface. Technically it's more like a master class. Yeah, here. And I've added a function to it. So every room has this function, and it's called on every room. So if they don't define anything, that's fine. They just don't do anything. That's the special room placement. This is a normal room. And then when we get to the end, we manage our exit lists. We manage a list of rooms that we used, and then we call initialize on the room. Yeah. Right. So every single room's doing that, including, yeah, see his duplicated code down here. So yeah, I talked about that in the other episode where there's some stuff that I want, like this, even these 2 sections. I want to put those into functions. I don't like having duplicate code, but I haven't yet because there are some minor differences, and I wanted to get a little further before to hopefully give me a better idea of what similarities there are, how things work, and then from there maybe I can start pulling things out. Um, well, from there I'd like to start pulling things out into functions. I've done it somewhat, but could be better. So, what I think I will need to do then is in the initialize of each room. Go away. For example, I think in the initialize is where I need to override the spawning. I think we're going to need to think about that because now I'm realizing if I try and override the spawning, like I already have the overall the overarching system in the generator, trying to place things on the floor spawn points. Generate dungeon rooms. Ah, that's what I'm looking for. That was this function. Ah, right, okay. So we do that. Wall decor, rubble, treasure, statues. This is actually floor decor here. Okay. So that executes after the rooms are spawned. Well, I guess that makes sense. But after all rooms are spawned, and then I believe it iterates every room. Okay. Sometimes rooms are skipped. That's fine. But it iterates every room. Jesus. Yeah, there we go. Holy crap. It iterates every room. All right. Checks if the room's going to have anything in it or not. Okay. If it does, it selects a random item from the floor spawnable items and then fills the room with those things. It fills a fraction of the possible locations of those things with those things. Okay. Ah. Oh, I can constrain it. I can put tags on it. Only use spawn points with correct tag. Uh-oh. My system is starting to exceed the complexity of the designer. Skip the spawn point if the probability is above the set frequency. Okay, so back here was where we skipped an entire room based on the frequency. And then here's when we're iterating. Here's where we iterate all the floor decor spawn points. We shuffle the list, then we iterate the list. If it's not tagged with statue, we don't do anything. That's interesting. Are these tagged with statue? I sure as shit are, aren't they? Mm. Right, because rubble and the spawn points are all in the same folder. And this is actually the list I'm iterating. So that is to skip rubble. Okay, yeah, I remember that. Right, so if it's not tagged this way, then it's rubble, so we do nothing. Okay. And then only some of them are going to get content, so, right? Again, below the frequency or above the frequency, do nothing. Okay, and then down here. Oh, back here we already picked the item that's going to spawn. This is where we make the decision for like column, statue, brazier, whatever. Okay, so that's already been selected for the room. So here we're going to split out that struct to get some information, specifically the spawn class. We'll dirty up the orientation, rotation, and all that. Okay. And we spawn the thing. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. So some things can be spun randomly from 0 to 360, and some things plus or minus 30 degrees. Okay. Oh, there's a, see, the master class for the 4 spawn items has a variable called randomized orientation. So if that's set, then we go from 0 to 360. So it can be spun anyway. If that's not set, it's still adjusted. It's just a small amount. Okay. Rotation, rotor, spawn, transform, rotation. Oh, these aren't used at all. Wait a minute. They're not used at all. Oh, okay. I guess maybe this wasn't working. I thought it was. All right, whatever. That's not important right now. Then we spawn the thing, cast it to the master class, and we call initialize on it. Okay, and that's for things like columns that can be various heights. Okay, so it's the same pattern that the rooms use, right? We spawn the room, do what we need, and then when we're done, we call initialize on the room, and the room customize its interior or whatever it needs to do. Okay. Here, that's generate statues. Here, we can get rid of that. This is rooms from here. Okay, so that's statues there. Treasure, rubble, wall decor. Okay. Generate the rooms, manage the entrances, spawn the doorways. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to need to think about how to add a custom list for for things to spawn. Yeah. All right. So moving on. Yeah, so I'm not going to do that now. Call that a stretch goal. Where's my thing? But as of this point, we do have a boss room spawning. Oh, and we need a treasure room. Oh, spawn on the exit farthest from the main entrance. That was a requirement for the boss room. All right. So here, mandatory rooms. Mandatory rooms here. All right, we're going to iterate the things we have to spawn. Then we shuffle the available location. And then we step through it. Okay, it's completely shuffled. Okay. Honestly, I think it's going to be all right. Because the whole dungeon is generated for the mandatory rooms are placed, which means they will always be on the outside of the dungeon. Like they'll always be at some of the farther points. All right, so we have the infamous peeps, peeps of legend. All right. I don't know how to get to this thing, but oh, looks like I found it. That's cool. So now I'm at the boss room. Little antechamber. That's cool. Oh, and then there's one of the regular exits. It's cool. And then boom. Oh, there's nothing in here this time. Oh, that's cool. Just lots of rubble everywhere. Okay. We do my epic battle. All right. Well, that's a pretty good fit, actually. All right. Cool, cool, cool. So, right on. Yeah. All right. So let's close. So what? All right. So what I'm thinking is, All right. This is the mandatory room spawning. Here's where we skip the main entrance. And right now, what I'm thinking, and this is really ugly, but what I'm thinking is I'm going to need exactly this sort of thing here, but instead of looking for the main entrance room tag, I will look for the treasure room tag. And if that's the case, I will, so it'll follow this section here, and I'll branch out, and I'll do all the same shit, except this. The exit, I'll just set the selected exit to be the exit of the boss room, which means I will need to have saved that. Which means at the end here, after everything is done, I'll probably need to do another just like this. So that's 3 places where I'll be doing something like this, where I'll be checking for the boss room tag, something that doesn't exist yet, so I can get that dedicated exit. All right. And I hate copy code. Hate copying code. All right. Okay. Let's just poke at this for a little bit while I let these things simmer. One of the last major task I've got is to get enemies spawning. And for the enemy spawning, I'm actually going to do something similar to what I was describing for the obstacles. I'm going to have 2 or 3 master lists of enemies. Every room is going to have potential spawn locations. And then every room can potentially have its own list of enemies. Oh, sweet. I like this. All right. So, so every room will have its own list, and it could have a couple. It could have like, I think the enemies are going to be split up into like 3 lists. You'll have kind of like your grunts, which the player will generally encounter in groups, and then you'll have your I don't know. I don't want to say mini boss, but like leaders. So they'll be a little tougher than grunts, and you can encounter those either with grunts, like one of those with a bunch of grunts, or one of those by itself, and then mini bosses. And those will generally be, I guess, by themselves. It's a dead end. So that'll be like what the rooms have. So a room can arbitrarily be like, oh, this has got a bunch of grunts in it or whatever. But then for the dungeon itself, the dungeon's going to have several lists. It's going to be the same set of lists. And what it'll do is what is it going to do? Is it just going to, So if we just iterate the room, iterate all the rooms and say, all right, find all of the bad guy spawn points and populate this percentage of them. What is the expected result if a room has its own list of bad guys? I guess you would use that instead of the master list. And if you said populate 50% of the spawn points with bad guys, you probably don't care where the bad guys come from, whether they're the global dungeon lists or the individual room list. So when the room spawns its bad guys, it needs to respect that global percentage. And then when the dungeon spawns bad guys, it basically needs to skip any room that has bad guys defined. Because if it has bad guys defined, then presumably it's doing its own spawning, right? Will it ever be the case that we want both? I don't think so. Let's assume What case could we come up with where you would want both? Where you would say a room has a list of bad guys to spawn on its own, and you want the dungeon to generate and populate the room with bad guys. Why and when would you do that? Let's say, what if the grunts for a particular room needed to be something special? Okay, so let's say this room here was supposed to be a cave, and we wanted a bunch of what are they called? In D&D, they're stalagmites, but they're monsters. They're not piercers, because those are just like those are the ones that are on the top of the ceiling and they fall down and hit you. But the ones that are on the floor that are monsters, well, whatever they're called, we'll call them whatever, piercers. So let's say we want a bunch of piercers in here. They're gonna be hanging on the roof, which I'm gonna conveniently ignore for now. How I would do that, but yeah, let's say there's supposed to be some specialized enemies in here. But I also want the regular inhabitants of the dungeon in here. Say this is supposed to be a goblin dungeon. I still want some goblins in here. So that would be a scenario. Now, even though that's a scenario, does it really matter? Like, does it change anything if we can't have that scenario? Not every room will have monsters in it. So if the player came in and let's say all that was in here were piercers, the player's going to be like, oh, empty room. And then, oh, I'm getting attacked. Okay, special monsters, fine. They do the little battle. Conversely, if this were not that room, they come in and, oh, the room is empty. Or they come in and, oh, there are goblins here. Let's fight them. Okay. So we lose the scenario of, oh, there are goblins here. Let's fight them. Ah, there's piercers falling down. Does it really change anything? Like, does that change the player's experience in any way meaningful? I don't think so. Or like this hallway here, right? If I said, oh, there could be piercers in here, it could be empty, or there could be goblins here. Does it really add anything if there could be piercers and goblins here? And is the player even going to notice? For example, let's say you can't do that. Let's say I don't implement it so that works because it's because it's complicated, and I decide it doesn't add anything. So let's say this is a piercer only hallway section, and let's say the next section has goblins in it. Well, I'm running on the hallway. I'm making noise, right? And I enter the room. And oh my god, there's piercers. And then there's also goblins running in from that doorway over there. So now I have goblins and piercers in the same room. Um, oh, what a battle. Is that meaningfully different from, oh, there are goblins in here and piercers in the ceiling? I mean, that sounds the same to me. The only difference is it would mean that that would only happen if there were goblins in the next room, which to me is like saying, well, that would only happen if piercers and goblins spawn in the same room. Okay, so I'm I don't think it's gonna be a loss. I know I'm gonna regret that. I know at some point someone's gonna say to me, oh, I want to specify certain bad guys to spawn, but I also want the dungeon bad guys to spawn in here. I feel like that's just gonna come back and bite me. And then I'll have to do that shameful, oh, I didn't make it do that. You can't do that. Hmm. Yeah. Or then I have a similar conversation with whoever asked for that, and I go, "But do you really need that? Is it really change the player's experience anyway? What if it was a room like this, and I had say kobolds, right? This room is supposed to be a kobold den, and those are unique to this room. Okay, so the player comes in, it's like, oh, kobolds, fight, fight, fight. Or come in, and it happens to be empty because random. All right, cool, empty room. Or it happens to be empty, but it's not really empty because the dungeon generator said, oh, there are goblins in here. So now it's a goblin room. And we lose out the opportunity to have hello everybody. Oh, there are kobolds and goblins in here. How complicated. I don't think it'll matter. I don't think it changes anything. Because there's nothing. I have no intention of saying like everything in a room has to be the same. So if kobolds, for example, kobolds and goblins are on the dungeon's list of grunts, then any room could have kobolds and goblins together. You know, for example, and I could even put a switch so that for any given room, when the dungeon's generating what will be in it, it'll randomly say, is this a mix of things or is it only one type of thing? You know, is it all kobolds, all goblins, or a mixture of both, or whatever? So, yeah, I don't. It is more limited to not have the two systems work together, but I feel the cost of making them work together is not worth the benefit. I don't feel like it really meaningfully changes the game for the player. And I don't feel like it really meaningfully adds, I don't think it adds meaningful options to the level designer. Yeah. I just don't see it. I'm going to mull over that. But I think my initial plan will be if a room has enemies defined, then we assume the room will handle itself as far as generating enemies go. So basically, that room will be skipped by the dungeon. The dungeon will only generate enemies for rooms that don't have custom enemies. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Most rooms will not have custom enemies defined, so that's fine. And I don't see a problem with the same enemies being on both lists. So, for example, you could have goblins on the dungeons list of grunts, and then you could also have goblins on a particular room's list of grunts. Um, but when the room generates its own enemies, it has finer control because um, that'll be I was going to say that'll be implemented on a per room basis, but actually, I don't think that's necessary. I can write my spawning code. I'll write so what it'll do is the spawning function will take a room and a list of enemies and a population percentage like 30%. And it populate 30% of the spawn points with random things from this list, and it'll do that. And then so the dungeon code will, after the rooms are generated, iterate all the rooms and simply pass them into that function with the percentage required with the dungeon's list of enemies. And then the individual rooms that have their own enemies defined will call the exact same function, passing themselves as the room and then their own list. So yeah, it'll be the same code spawning. So that'll be fine. Yeah, I think that's gonna work. That's gonna work. All right, cool. Okay. So there's your rooms. This will be for spawning the enemy. All right. Room generation, enemy generation. Here we go. Oh, I have a spawn enemies already? Wait, what? Spawns provided enemies on the provided spawn points. Enemy blueprints, enemy spawn points, enemy percentage. Oh, look at that shit. Oh shit. When the hell did I write this? Okay. Early out if there are no enemies or spawn points provided. There. Select a percentage of spawn points to keep from the original list. Remove the excess. So those are the ones where we'll spawn things. I don't know about the wisdom of this, modifying the list. I Yeah, that's all right. Select a random spawn point and apply random yaw rotation. Oh, okay. Select a random item from the weighted blueprints and then spawn that actor. All right, so basically this keeps them all from spawning, standing facing the same way. So that's cool. And then we spawn the thing at the location. Yeah, and enemies are not constrained to the room. They're not like they have no connection. It could be added, but just as it is, there's no connection. All right. Let's go look at the master room. Where is it? Over here. Here we go. All right, the master room. Room enemy generation. Little and big. All right, cool. All right, let's rename this to, we'll call this Grunt Blueprints. We'll call this Leader Blueprints. And then we will add another variable. Hang on. Hey, there we go. Duplicate. That's what I wanted to do. All right, and then we'll call these mini boss blueprints. Awesome. You go away. Cool. Grunt, leader, and mini boss. Okay, so we're gonna save that. Come over here, and we've got enemy generation, enemy control. Here we go. So let's rename this Grunt and leader. And then we'll duplicate this. Mini boss. All right. Now, all right, yes. So the purpose of this system is not only to allow you to say, like, some rooms have kobolds while the rest of the dungeon is goblin, but also so we can specify in a boss room, here is the boss. Okay. Master room, room tags. All right. And hello again. Initialize. Okay, so I think in initialize, that's where we want a reference. That's where we want to use that spawning function. Spawn enemies. All right, so I need a reference to the dungeon generation engine. Get actor dungeon. No, that doesn't work. Get I thought there was a call, a node that would basically let you just get something from the scene. Let me look that up real quick. Oh, hello to person number 2. Man, it's getting crowded in here. All right, pop this open real quick and all right, blueprints, nodes, get actor from scene. What do you got? Get all actors of class or get actor of class or get actor by tag. All right. Get actor of class. Get all actors of class. There we go. Oop. Modified stream. All right, cool. Then we're going to do dungeon. Oop. All right, cool. And then I want generate spawn enemies. That's what I want. Oh, all right. Here we go. All right, we want all right, I need the enemy. What is this called? Population percent. All right. I need that. How do I get is it called break? how do I get a this variable? This is the object reference. All right, get enemy population percent. Oh, you do it like that. All right, that's going to go there. Cool. Enemy blueprints. Here. All right, this is a folder, so we're going to get children, components, plural. So this is where they can spawn. Okay. And goodbye. All right, and pull that out. The blueprints are these guys. Okay, so this is pretty naive. Okay, it says they are weighted blueprints. All right, let's do this to start with then. Say get there. We'll just use the grunts for now. Just to for an initial implementation. All right, cool. Spawn, okay, yep. Use spawn points. I think it's supposed to be used spawn points. It's not even populated. Okay. Spawn actor, and actually, I don't think this is correct. Spawn enemies, sequence. All right, first you store the data you need. Weighted blueprints, list of places to spawn. All right, then you abort. Read the value variable. All right. Spawn. All right, this needs to be remaining. Actually, this needs to be unused. That is what that is. Unused spawn points. All right, and so if there are no enemies or no spawn points provided, we do that. Come down here, select a percentage of spawn points to keep, remove the excess. Spawn points for each. Do a random percentage. The random number is greater than that. Then we remove that. All right, so when we're done here, so basically we're not going to use that spawn point. Oh, I see. So over here, we're returning the original list. And then here, we are removing the ones we're not going to use. Okay, that is not going to work. to be completely honest, I'm not sure why. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm even going to get rid of that because I'm pretty sure that's not where that needs to be. All right, so here we go. So if you had no enemies or no spawn points, you're just going to return. Then you're going to come down. You're going to say, iterate the spawn points we have, roll a number. If it's higher than the percentage we want to populate, then this spawn point is not going to be used. We remove it from the list we have. Okay, next. Spawn a random item from the weighted blueprints. Okay. Perturb the rotations, whatever. All right, and then because we just used that spawn point, we're going to use we're using a spawn point which we picked. Random array from stream. Random array item from stream. Right. Okay, so yeah, we're picking an item. That item gets removed from the available spawn points, and then we spawn the actor on that location. So this only spawns one. So after this iterates, spawn points list contains, it should contain multiple spawn points. Then we come down here, weighted array item. Yep. Okay, we need a 4 each in here. Right, because we went to the effort of saying, oh, you had 10 spawn points, 30% should be populated. So we went through and rolled a number. If it was 0.3, if it was higher than 0.3, we removed it from the list. So we should have generally about, say, 3 items left. And then we come down here, and we only spawn the one thing. And that's not what we want to do. So yeah, there's a 4 each missing here. Okay. All right, 4 each. There's the loop body, and that is why I was pretty sure this node over here should not be returned. It should be here. Return. Turn node. All right, cool. So we got that. Here, okay. And array element for each. All right, we are iterating these spawn points here. Actually, no. Weighted blueprints. Yes. So we iterate the spawn points. We select a random possible item that can spawn. Modify it. We are using spawn points. Right. Okay, so that's not correct. This over here, random array item from stream, spawn points. No. Here. There we go. That's not confusing. Cool. Random float in range. Add rotation. All right. Yes. Spawn points. Remove the thing we just used. All right, cool. And then move on. There we go. All right, so now If you pass it a list of enemies, a list of spawn locations, and a percentage, it's going to grab that percentage of those locations and then spawn these enemies, one each per location, according to their weight. All right. Cool. Boop. So over here, pass in my grunt blueprints. Pass in here. This is the this guy. So enemy spawn points that are defined within the room. Boop. And then we pass in the enemy population percent from the dungeon generator object. Boop. And then when we're done, we're done. We didn't use the random stream, but I'm pretty sure we used random. We used the random stream in here. These are accessing it globally. I didn't pass this in, so I don't need to return it. This is bad programming style, but it does, in this case, it does simplify things a little bit because I'm accessing something outside the scope of this function. But it's actually working for me in this case. Yeah. Because it means the master room can call this. I don't have to pass in a random stream, and I don't have to return one. This initialize is on the master room. Save. Save. All right, you, when you call initialize on the room, dungeon rooms, you do it in here. It's the very last thing. Initialize here. And you do pass in the random stream, the room stream. And the intent for the initialize here is actually to customize the room, spawning objects, decor object. It's actually not to spawn enemies. So I may add a second function for spawning enemies, because one thing I don't like is that this is generating dungeon rooms. And now at the end here, we call initialize, and this is generating enemies. Which means at this point here, some rooms are going to have enemies. That's a problem because I'm still placing doorways, decor, rubble, treasure, statues. That's a problem. Okay. All right, so we need to separate that out. I need to move this to its own separate function. So this is the master room. To generate room enemies. All of this. Boop. Right there. All right, there we go. generate room enemies. Just like that. That's it. It does need some work still because let's comment this here. We do want to implement spawning types, or rather from all three lists. And the reason I went with blueprint with grunts only here is because I only just realized I don't have any idea for how I want to approach spawning enemies between these lists. Because I imagine, for example, if I have a mini boss in this list, I'm almost certainly I want that in there, right? If I have grunts defined, I may or may not want them. Leaders, I may or may not want them. So I'm not. I need to think about how I want to handle that, and I'll need to do that because I need to answer the same question for the entire dungeon. To do. There we go. Alrighty. Hello, Doo. Okay, cool. So now initialize no longer spawns enemies. That is fantastic. Generate room enemies. Okay, over here. Yep. Okay, I think. Yeah. So here. Give me. Yeah. So that's why this was never hooked up. It's because when I created that, I think I realized the same thing. All right, so one thing I will end up doing is I will iterate all the rooms, right? So I need a for each. What am I doing? Generate enemies. Enemies. All right. Dungeon enemies. Oop. Put you up there. Awesome. Dungeon rooms. All right, we're good with that. Spawning enemies. Dungeon enemies. Oh, I see. Okay. Main generation. Ah. Spawn points. Blueprints. Spawn points. Percentage. Okay. Right. So what'll happen? This will iterate the rooms, right? For each, we should have spawned rooms. Okay, for each of these bad boys. So spawn rooms does not save a reference to the metadata. Oh, that's a problem. Okay. Generate dungeon enemies. Do that here. So this. Enemy control, enemy population. That'll be there. That's fine. Yeah, this information needs to come from the room, which is here. It's the room. I can get the spawn points, right? Get spawn points. Get enemies. Spawn points. Oh, it's together. Oh, I see. So here, get spawn. There it is. Get children components of spawn points. There we go. Cool. So here we go. So that is there. So we can't get that. But this is problematic. Okay. So I think this is generate dungeon enemies. That's spawn enemies. Let's call this room enemies. Save. And then the master room also has generate room enemies. This is generate. The other one's called spawn. Okay. I don't think I'm going to worry about that right now. I've got to come back to this function anyway. Okay. So spawn room. Okay, so this is not what I want here. So wall decor, rubble, treasure, statues, and then we'll come down here and say generate dungeon enemies. Boom. Cool. So within here, so I think for now, to keep from causing problems, on room enemies, this is smart enough. Yeah, if it's empty, it just returns. I think it's actually smart enough to handle no data. Good. Save all. So let's try it. Nothing should happen. I mean, the dungeons still generate and all that, but nothing else should appear. So, all right. So yeah, most important thing was that it did crash, and looks like it didn't. So that's cool. I suspect there's a stairwell somewhere around here. Oh no, there's the boss room over there. Okay. All right, got a broken doorway. Cool. Torches. Some missing. Some lit. Cool. All right, we got a roundabout. Oh, and another one. Oh, treasure chest. Lucky day. Another one. All right, here we go. And then boom. Oh, and some coins. That's nice. All right. All right, we don't have a crouch, but you know, cool. Hide over here. Fight our enemy. Come out here. There's room. We need to do some sort of melee combat. There's room for like special abilities and all that. All right, cool. Awesome. All right, I think that is where I'm going to stop today. So, for those of you who peeked your head in, thanks for keeping company. Appreciate it. And I will see you guys whenever I do this next. Goodbye.